What's up guys, it's Caleb from KCNE Studios, and today we're going to be continuing our Godzilla backwards reviews, and we are on King Kong versus Godzilla. So, yes. Yes, this story, since I felt like it's like a little longer to explain, I'll just say this. So, there's this pharmaceutical guy, and he got news that this 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 explorer guy, I guess, he found this island called Faroe Island with all these natives, and they say that there's this god on it, and they think it's a monster, and there's all these berries that they found that are like special berries. That island turns out to be King Kong's island, and the berries were turned into juice, and King Kong drank the juice, so he got bigger. So, and then along I think a little bit before that, actually, Godzilla was awakened while in an iceberg, and some submarine was going around, and they accidentally rammed into it for some reason. But yeah, they awoken Godzilla, and then Godzilla came ashore. King Kong and Godzilla end up coming ashore, and they fight. They have a short fight. Godzilla kicks King Kong's butt, and then later Godzilla he continues to go through Japan, and kind of just wreaks havoc. Same with King Kong, but King Kong, they end up since he takes one of the main characters sisters, he literally finds her in the train and picks her up and runs around with her. I don't know what's wrong with King Kong, but he did that, and so then he's like, oh well, I could take out my drums and we could put him to sleep, because earlier on the Faroe Island they learned that the drums make him go to sleep. So he got out his drums and he made him go to sleep, and so then he ends up falling asleep. Godzilla's on Mount Fuji, and they're like, okay, we need King Kong to fight Godzilla for us. So they take these air balloons, they lift King Kong up, and they send him after Godzilla, and they have an epic battle, one of the most epic battles in the history of Godzilla. So, yes, it ends with King Kong and Godzilla basically rumbling into the ocean together. King Kong on the other... So what happens is King Kong, his head pops out of the water, but Godzilla's doesn't. But, since Godzilla can swim in the ocean, there's a lot of debate about this. And as much as I would prefer Godzilla to have won, it is titled King Kong versus Godzilla, not Godzilla versus King Kong. And usually the first person's name to be chosen is the one that you want to win, or is the main one. They kind of pictured King Kong as, I guess, a vigilante, kind of. Not a vigilante, I'm sorry. They preferred King Kong over Godzilla for no odd reason at all. But yeah, it was originally supposed to be Frankenstein versus Godzilla, and that's why during the battle, King Kong he gets awoken by lightning, and he starts shocking him with his hands, which I think originally I thought was dumb, but then I'm like, it's not that bad. So, anyways, let's get on to the pros and cons. So we'll get to the cons first. I just said this, King Kong gets his energy from lightning. I mean, I know Frankenstein, he gets electrocuted by lightning, and that's what gives him energy, and he was supposed to take King Kong's place, but they didn't really do that. So, yeah. King Kong, he's like Gabra, kind of, in a way. Just big, furry, and he has no hair on his nipples, which is also a really weird part of his suit. He has a bad suit. And the only other con is that there's too much singing. There's too much singing in this movie to awaken King Kong, to put him to sleep, and just so much singing, mostly by the native people, and I just don't care about the singing. So, and now we'll get to the pros. The American version, with the all the English dubs and the newscast, which is another thing that I really liked about this. How it shows like the UN talking about Godzilla, and like the scientist guy comes in and he talks about him. It just made it all really, really goofy. Um, yeah, it's a very fun movie. It was one of the highest budgeted movies, or the highest budgeted movie for a Godzilla movie. And if you compare it to Godzilla Raids Again, which I actually just watched because it's kind of a long story. I might explain that later. But if you compare this to Godzilla Raids Again, this has a lot better I don't know what you'd call it, but like, video. Can't think of the right word, but it's 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 also overall just a better movie. It's really funny. It's just a fun movie, by the way, too. It is hilarious, especially with the two main characters when they're on the island. Like, one of the guys, he's like, my corns hurt, and things like that. And he's like, my corns always hurt when we're around a monster. And he's like, well, once you see the monster, you can tell him all about your corns. And they keep making fun of him about that. And it's just like, I literally just burst out laughing, and I knew it was coming. It's just such a funny movie. A very fun and funny movie. Hilarious and fun at the same time. So, yeah, I like the UN like news scenes, like how they go off and on between that. To some people, it's an annoyance, but to me, I kind of like it. It also just made it extra goofy. The monster, so you got this octopus that King Kong fought because they wanted to show King Kong fighting an octopus on Faroe Island. And then there's King Kong, whose suit is just really badly done. Oh my gosh, he has a really bad suit. And then Godzilla has a really good suit. My thoughts on it is he looks a lot better from the side than the front. From the front, he looks extremely derpy. From the side, he looks so epic. It's like it's like they did this with the Godzilla Raids Again suit too. I don't know. There's no, yeah. There's a lot of that kind of stuff with many Godzilla suits in the Godzilla series. So yeah, those are the monsters. Personally, I think Godzilla's suit in this is awesome. As y'all know, it made my top 10. If you watched my top 10 Godzilla forms, Godzilla 1962 is up there. So, I loved Godzilla's first appearance when he's bursting out of the iceberg. That is just amazing. The characters are hilarious. I went into the two main characters, but the pharmaceutical, the businessman, the greedy businessman, he's just hilarious. Oh my gosh, you gotta watch this movie if you haven't. It's just like a really fun and hilarious movie. Just like one you can like make fun of, but it's still awesome at the same time. It's just so great. The fight scenes, personal or not personally, everyone would agree with me on this. There's the first fight scene between them, which was really short. Godzilla just like shot him with his breath. They maybe threw a couple rocks and that was it. But the final one on Mount Fuji was awesome. That was amazing. Like, and it lasted a good while too. Yeah, the final battle is the best. So, my final thoughts is that this movie is definitely a great one to watch. Especially if you're a new fan, you just want to watch this one. This one, in my opinion, kind of like, or it kind of made history for the kaiju fans, because for one, it's the second Godzilla movie for him to be fighting a monster. It's the first one for him to be in color, which is what I didn't know. I didn't even mention that. It's the first Godzilla movie in color. It's got a huge budget. It was really good for Godzilla at the time. It may have made the money to support all the other Godzilla films. I don't know how well it did. I assume it did really well because you got people from Japan and America going to see this, because it's kind of like the battle of their country's monster. Like, you know what I mean. It's also like it's kind of like, in my opinion, it's like if you're a superhero fan and you love Spider-Man and you love Batman. If they got into a battle and they had a movie for that battle, this is how I see that movie. It's like, it's just two big, huge monsters with their huge icons getting to fight each other, which is what I really love. So, and finally, I always ask this: would it be well remade? Yes, this is probably the best movie. If you were gonna remake this, this would definitely be one of the best movies to remake because it's King Kong fighting Godzilla. Another con that I just thought of is that King Kong, he kind of just walked around like more like an ape, not like a gorilla. But I mean, I don't know. It would be hard for them to do that. But if in the future Toho or Legendary decides to have a movie for them fighting, I would prefer King Kong to walk around more like a gorilla, like he's supposed to. Um, so yeah, I think that's all I wanted to say. This movie would be awesome if it was remade. I would say it's the number one to be remade. Actually, I did a video about that. So yeah, go check that out if you want to. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you have enjoyed, and make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you haven't, and I will be seeing you guys next time. Bye-bye.